Hey folks, Andrew here, and I'm here with David, and we're going to talk about Yacht Club games, and more specifically, Shovel Knight. David, how are you today?
Good, thanks for having me.
So, for our viewers, what exactly is your position in Yacht Club games, and what do you do for Shovel Knight?
We are a really small team and we don't really have titles or roles or anything, but the main thing I do is programming, so I do everything from implementing bosses to, getting the 3DS running, but we all, we're a tiny team, so we all take on a bunch of tasks, so, you could find me doing marketing and, making merchandise deals to, like, yelling that art is no good, doing, design. I mean, we all contribute and, we're all a part of every piece of the process.
Wow, it seems like your hands are incredibly filled with this stuff. So, Shovel Knight's been out for almost a year now. How has this year been for you guys? Finally having your game out in the open, having all the backers finally getting their hands on the shovels.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty crazy. To think that it would be, so loved by everyone and such a success. And I don't know, we're used to games and then going sort of like under the radar, so for it to be such, hype, a big thing has been really exciting, and I mean we couldn't be more grateful that everyone has shown such great support for the game.
Awesome. And recently you guys released Shovel Knight for the PS4 and the Xbox One, and you've kind of added some extra content for those two versions. I guess my main question is why Kratos and why Battletoads? Why did you choose those two for those two versions?
When we were going through, we were thinking about like what to do that would be special. For the Wii U we had Digger's Diary, and for the 3DS we had Street Pass, and we wanted to give it that feel like if you played the game on a Sony system or you played on a Microsoft system, you thought like, oh, like you would play it on Xbox and you go, and someone would tell you it's on PlayStation, you'd be like, no, it's not. Like, this is an Xbox game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of the feel we wanted to go for, and it seemed like the best way to do that would be to do the character inclusion, sort of the same way. Like, we got really excited. We're like when Soul Calibur 2 came out, right? And it had like Link, and I forget who was on the other ones, but like that was such a big event, right? And we wanted to sort of replicate that to an extent. And yeah, I guess those were the characters that seemed most appropriate to us. Like when we thought about Sony, we thought like Kratos is like the biggest Sony guy, and he felt really, and that felt appropriate in our world, right? Like a big, like goofy, muscular, like raging guy, like a little weird, is like sort of fits our world already. And then the Battletoads are like one of the most heralded NES games. It's like so classic, the gameplay. Those characters, like we already have like a frog and a toad in our game, right? So it just felt a little like they were so appropriate, and we thought we could do really fun things with the gameplay. So.
And that's probably the best thing about the Battletoads one, the way that you guys fight all the Battletoads. It's basically like playing Battletoads again. Why did you guys go for that route instead of doing just like a generic boss fight again?
Yeah, when we were doing it, like that's what got us excited, right? And that's usually what we do. It's like whatever gets us excited is like what makes us excited to come to work and get something finished is like what we want to do and what we're going to do. So when we thought about like what just a normal Battletoads boss fight, it didn't seem like very exciting to us. And two, it didn't seem like very representative of the Battletoads, right? Because every Battletoads game, every stage is like a completely different game, right? And that's really a lot of like what Rare does. Like what Rare is special at is that they are totally willing to throw at everything they've done and build a completely new thing for each stage. Or it's like, hey, I'm in Banjo-Kazooie, and like every stage I'm gonna like transform into a crazy different animal or whatever. They're like totally willing to throw out like all the gameplay they've established and come up with something new and exciting to keep it fresh, right? And that's what we thought. Like we have to do the same thing. If we're trying to treat that property with respect. That's what we should do.
I think you guys did a fantastic job on it as well. I really enjoyed that. The hover bike was really well done. That whole hover bike section, I felt like it felt better with you guys than it did the original Battletoads. Granted, I was a kid when I did the original Battletoads, so I was horrible at video games. Maybe I just got better, but it was still a blast to do that part.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely made a lot of tweaks to try to make it like nicer and friendlier. And actually, one of the biggest things that helps, I think, is the 16:9 widescreen display. It gives you a lot more room to like see what's coming and to react to it, right? Because the 4:3 is like so tiny.
Oh yeah.
You crash into something before you know it.
So you guys are soon. You guys will be releasing a new, I guess, DLC expansion campaign. I don't know what to properly call it, but your Plague Knight campaign, and it's going to be free. So can you just give us a little more details about why Plague Knight first, and what do you guys plan to do with his campaign?
So all the updates we're adding to the game were stretch goals for the Kickstarter. And so one of the stretch goals was 3 playable boss campaigns. And at the end of the Kickstarter, we said we would vote. We would have the Kickstarter backers vote who they wanted for the bosses. And we put them all, we designed like a bunch of mobility sets for all the bosses. And we said, hey, this is pick your favorites. And so everyone voted, and they came up with King Knight, Plague Knight, and Spectre Knight. So Plague Knight's essentially the first one. And I mean, generally you're gonna be playing through all the existing levels with a totally new mobility, totally new weapons, armors, power-ups, a new story, a new boss here or there, a couple new scenarios. But generally, it's like 95% the same with new, playing as a totally crazy different kind of character.
Did you have problems programming Plague Knight to work within these levels that were specifically meant for Shovel Knight?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely design like issues, right? Plague Knight can't do a down thrust, right? So how do you design around that? Well, like in Plague Knight's campaign, where we're having it so he has a bomb jump, so he jump really high, as opposed to doing the down thrust. So like that's how he gets around those situations. And we run into other problems like, hey, like it's really easy to kill a boss with Plague Knight because he can like throw bombs really fast, as opposed to like Shovel Knight, who like, he has to get up close and in their face. So like those kind of balancing out those issues is sort of tricky.
Okay. So I'm sure you're definitely aware of this, but Nintendo recently announced the polling for Super Smash to see if you can vote to add a new character into the roster, and Reddit did its own a little unofficial vote, and Shovel Knight was winning. It was like really winning. I think it was like 43% winning or something like that.
Oh no!
How does that feel? That not only do fans really like your character that they want to be in Super Smash, but there's a chance that it will be in Super Smash.
Oh, I don't know if there's a chance. I mean, that would be
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly humbling that people like Shovel Knight enough to vote him, that they'd want to see him in Smash. I mean, that's who we would love to see him, desperately. I mean, we play Smash Brothers like every day, and to think that we could play our own character in that game would be incredible. But yeah, we're not getting our hopes up or anything anytime soon. That's like an immense amount of work. I mean, they'd have to imagine that character. He's never been in a 3D game, right? So they have to figure out what that 3D model looks like and how it fits into their game, and like what the mobility stuff works and how. I mean, it'd be a huge amount of work for sure.
Mm-hmm. Would you have any ideas of what the moves would be?
Oh, I mean, yeah, we have our own ideas, and there's been a ton of people that like have sent us like images or just plain text of like what they would want it to look like, and it's all been like super good, surprisingly.
As a programmer, what are some of the more difficult like levels or bosses that you've had to design, and what is the average day of a programmer for Yacht Club games?
Average day. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's a day that's very average, honestly. But typically it's just like, it's figuring out like, at the start of the week, we figure out like, hey, here's what we're doing, right? It might be like tackling Mole Knight stage, right? So we just like say, here are the objects we want to do. Here's let's figure out the boss patterns. Let's do everything, right? And then it's just day by day. It's just nailing each of those things. Like, let's get the mini boss in the stage, working. Let's get, things that you can stamp them down. Oh, it's like, oh, hey, I want to stamp it down, but I want it to like sometimes do this or whatever. It's like, implementing all those functions. And then, yeah, the trickiest thing might have been, I don't know. I had a lot of trouble with Polar Knight's boss.
Okay.
Just because he's a big, slow character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a big, slow character is really easy to hit.
Right.
So you had to make him so he wasn't very easy to kill, right? And the second difficult part of that was, the boss was going to be so that it would have those spikes on the floor, right? For anyone, I guess, if you haven't played it, but so he like knocks out the ground and there's spikes are revealed, and making it so it wasn't like very easy to die on those spikes was very difficult because you don't want, you want the spikes to be there as like a very imposing threat and to add a lot of drama, but you don't want it to be like, oh, the player's dying in one hit every single time they play the boss, right? So striking that balance was really tricky.
Who's your best Smash player on Yacht Clubs?
Oh,
Are you going to claim you or?
I would say me, but I don't know. I don't know who everyone else would say.
I play a couple Smash in my day, so if you guys want to learn a lesson or two, I'd be more than happy to jump in the Final Destination against you guys.
You mean a lesson on how to be terrible, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you so much for setting some time and talking with us. It was a pleasure. And I guess my last final question would be, when can players expect to get their hands on the Plague Knight campaign?
We are aiming for the end of the second quarter, but we're very loose with our dates.
Okay, so that'll be a tentative, like, keep an eye out for. Okay, that sounds fantastic. But thank you so much, David, and for more content like this, be sure to head over to shacknews.com.